Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Children as young as 11 say they're sexually harassed on buses and trains in Yorkshire.
It's no longer something where it happens on a rarity. It's something that happens day in, day out for many people, and we're tired of it.
We'll speak to Harrogate Youth Council, which has launched a campaign on the issue. Also tonight, an inquest into the death of a 1-year-old boy who fell from a 7th floor window has concluded his death was an accident. It's a big night for Sheffield United as they face Liverpool under their new manager. We're live at Bramall Lane tonight ahead of that match.
On St Nicholas Day, we're celebrating the amazing acts of kindness happening right here in our region. Aren't we, Santa?
We are.
Well, what a day to be walking in Upper Wharfdale. A magnificent scene there across the Yorkshire Dales, but tomorrow will be very different. Join me for the latest forecast.
Hello, I hope you're well on this Wednesday evening. Children as young as 11 are being sexually harassed on public transport in Yorkshire. That is according to the Harrogate Youth Council, which has launched a campaign on the issue. Now, the council is made up of children aged 11 to 18, and it says harassment happens day in, day out on buses and trains. British Transport Police says it's unacceptable and is working hard to tackle the issue. Dave Edwards has tonight's top story.
For many teenagers, taking public transport is a key part of life. For getting to school, maybe a part-time job, or to visit friends. You'd assume it's safe. Not always.
To and from school, even in a school uniform, you have people catcalling you, like verbal sexual harassment or verbal racism. You've got people who will sit really close to you on an empty bus. I think it's really disgusting, and I actually think it's not being spoken about enough.
A lot of it's drunk people, or people who just kind of don't care about what other people think.
Nearly all transport journeys are safe, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people feel safe.
I've heard stories of like even groping, and you know, these are children, these are people who are younger than me, and it's like, it's disgusting that people in this day and age do these things to children.
These young people are members of Harrogate Youth Council. Their anti-harassment campaign aims to increase reporting of incidents and improve CCTV. The council's concerns have been raised in the House of Commons by their local MP.
2 weeks ago, I met with members of Harrogate Youth Council who are running an anti-harassment campaign focusing upon public transport. Can my right honourable friend tell me what steps the government is taking to keep people, particularly young people, safe on our buses and trains?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, I welcome the work from the Harrogate Youth Council. They should be aware that 95% of buses have CCTV.
The Minister went on to say he'd take the Youth Council's suggestions to his next meeting with the Chief Constable of British Transport Police. They told us they're using a mixture of high visibility officers and plainclothes officers to create a hostile environment for perpetrators on trains. And they're encouraging bystanders to step in when they see harassment happening.
It could be something as simple as asking the individual being targeted if they're okay, asking where the next stop is or where another platform is. Things like that don't tend to attract negative attention, but they can really help to break that moment and make a huge difference.
Police are also urging victims and witnesses to report harassment whenever it happens. The youth counsellors say most children just don't bother.
Because it happens so often, people are so reluctant to report because it's seen as a norm. People don't want to report these things because it's just an everyday thing. It's no longer something where it happens on a rarity. It's something that happens day in, day out for many people, and we're tired of it.
A law to make sexual harassment in public a criminal offence was passed in September with a maximum sentence of 2 years in prison. But some charities say it'll be difficult to enforce. These children are hoping to do their bit to help others like them have a safer journey. Dave Edwards, BBC Look North, Harrogate.
Some great work by a bright group of teenagers there. Next tonight, a coroner has concluded accidental death in the inquest of a 1-year-old boy who fell from a 7th-floor flat in Leeds. Exodus Eob climbed on a bed under a window before falling from the high-rise last July. The inquest heard Exodus's mum had warned the council about unsafe windows before his death. Alex Moss was in court.
The coroner said the death of Exodus was tragic, and despite concerns from the family about the safety of the window, he ruled that the little boy's death was accidental. The 1-year-old died from multiple injuries after falling from a bedroom window of the high-rise flat in July last year. The 2-day inquest heard despite a restrictor being fitted to the window, Exodus's mum was worried about the danger it posed to her children. That was so because of the death of another boy from a tower block in the area in 2011. She told the hearing she'd asked the council for a secondary lock, a cable lock, to be fitted to the window to make it more secure. The inquest heard that the windows in the flat had a key locking system and restrictors which stopped them from being opened more than a few inches. But these had been voluntarily and deliberately disengaged at some time before Exodus's death. The coroner said additional window locks were not the answer and that the 2 safety measures installed were sufficient. But speaking afterwards, the family said they were upset with the outcome.
Exodus was the cutest, most adorable child with a contagious laugh and a strong curiosity of the world around him. He loved to sit in a corner and pretend to read books. He also loved climbing on any furniture that was around him. We feel that the benefits of a permanent restrictor has been misunderstood, and we maintain that a permanent restrictor should be fitted to all high-rise tower blocks housing children or people with disabilities, as promised in response to the tragic death of Liam Shackleton in 2011.
Now, the coroner said what was needed was intervention to make sure the tenants appreciate the risks and the function of the restrictors. In response, Leeds City Council said it offered its condolences to the family. The authority said it had noted the coroner's comments on the importance of awareness with regards to window safety, and it will continue to communicate the proper advice to its residents living in high-rise flats.
Alex Moss reporting for us there. A woman from Harrogate who lost her father during the pandemic says she felt anger and incredulity watching Boris Johnson give evidence at the COVID inquiry. The former Prime Minister today apologised for the pain and loss and suffering, but said the government did its best at the time. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson is here. It must be really hard for these families to relive all this.
Yeah, and if you cast your mind back to 2020, there was this new virus that was spreading through every home, hospital and high street. And of course, Boris Johnson was the man in charge of the country, making all of the key decisions. Well, today he appeared before the COVID-19 inquiry for the first time. He began his evidence with an apology, but no sooner had he started than he was interrupted by protesters. Let's take a quick look at that moment now.
Can I just say how glad I am to be at this inquiry, and how sorry I am for the pain and the loss and the suffering
sit down.
Of
please stop.
COVID victims.
Please sit down. Please sit down, or I'm afraid you'll have to leave the hearing room. I'm sorry, if you don't sit down, I'm going to ask the ushers to get you to leave.
Now, what you can't see there is 4 protesters who were holding up placards that said the dead can't hear your apologies, and they then had to leave the room.
What are some of the key findings today?
Well, it covered a lot of ground today, and among the points that were made was Boris Johnson said that he was personally responsible for all of the key decisions that were made during the pandemic. He said that he should have twigged sooner the seriousness of the situation. He admitted he shouldn't have shaken hands with COVID patients in March 2020. And of course, he defended the working environment inside number 10 Downing Street, which has had accusations of a toxic environment. Now, one of those people who was watching was Liz Alderson from Harrogate. She lost her father during the pandemic, and she said she was frustrated by what she saw.
A mixture of anger and incredulity, except that it probably actually confirms what my feelings were all along, that they just really hadn't got a handle on it and everything was done in a panic and they hadn't taken it seriously soon enough.
Well, Boris Johnson is back giving evidence tomorrow when we are likely to hear more about Partygate.
Jamie, thank you. You are watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme.
At Bramall Lane tonight, Sheffield United fans are almost there, ready for the return of King Chris Wilder as manager. But do they think it's a good idea that he's been brought back to save them? We'll be asking around shortly.
Well, you can see that Oggie's wrapped up all warm there for winter because as temperatures dropped below freezing again this week, pensioners say in sheltered accommodation block in Leeds say they've spent 5 days without heat or hot water. Leeds City Council, who run the tower block, has apologised after a new heating system broke down at the weekend. Engineers say the system has been fixed, but the residents say they're still struggling to keep warm. Tom Ingle has more.
It's been the talk of the tower. Like an act of prayer every morning for the last few days, Janice has been waiting, hoping for her heating to come back on.
It was in the early hours of Saturday morning. We got up, there was no heating, no hot water.
Queensview has had a brand new heating system installed recently. As the mercury plunged, it picked the worst time to pack up.
Late Saturday night, they actually delivered us some storage heaters. I managed to get one of the bigger ones, and then they said they were working on it to see what they could do. They thought that the pump had broken. It really is absolutely freezing, and there's a lot more that are more elderly than I am with a lot more problems.
Fortunately, the residents' communal lounge has stayed warm, a break for some from constantly wrapping up.
She's 90, and she was crying because she couldn't get warm.
I'm not so bad, I'm just staying in one room at the moment.
One radiator in the room is very low, the other one is high but it's very cool. The one in the passage don't work, the one in the bedroom does.
Leeds City Council, who own Queensview, have apologised to the people who live there. Engineers have rigged up a temporary system, so the building is being heated again. Meanwhile, Synergist, who installed the system, told us the recent extreme cold temperatures caused a key piece of equipment in the system to fail. Heating was restored on Sunday afternoon. However, as it took a while to come back up to full temperature, some of the residents' properties may not have been as warm as they would have liked. They too have apologised. Janice and her fellow residents want reassurances the problems are behind them and they can look forward to a warmer December. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Let's take a look now at some other stories coming into our newsroom. The government's decision not to introduce a Hillsborough law is an insult, according to the sister of one of the disaster victims. The government stopped short of introducing the law, signing a Hillsborough charter instead. 97 Liverpool fans died as a result of a crush at the Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield in 1989. Doncaster Council's Cabinet has approved the next steps to look at how it could reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport. The airport closed last year after owners Peel said it wasn't financially viable, but 4 new potential operators are looking at how they could lease the site, working with the council. An outline business case will now be submitted to South Yorkshire's Mayor Office that would outline proposed benefits and also how much it would actually cost to run.
But our latest economic assessment of options suggests gross benefits in the range of £1 to £2 billion over 6,000 jobs and 5,000 indirect, I think it is. So we will see great benefits, and that's over a 30-year period, of course.
Leaders from the Muslim, Sikh, Hindu and Christian communities gathered in Bradford city centre this morning to decorate a multi-faith festive tree in Centenary Square. Now, the event ahead of Christmas was to celebrate links between the city's diverse communities and businesses. Baubles on the tree are sponsored by local companies and a small ceremony was held which saw religious leaders hang them on the tree together. How lovely. 7-time World Paralympian champion Hannah Cockcroft says the profile of disability sports has taken massive steps back since London 2012 Olympics. Speaking as the latest guest on Rob Burrows' podcast 7, Hannah blames the lack of TV coverage for the regression and says disability sports are now an afterthought. She's calling for more support, stating there's still a long way to go.
We moved forward very quickly at London 2012. We took
massive leaps, and the amount of money in parasport just then, I think, gave me a very unrealistic idea of what was on offer. A massive part of it is that we don't get the TV coverage. So London 2012, we had wall-to-wall coverage. Rio 2016, wall-to-wall coverage. Got to Tokyo and we were down to evening highlight shows again, which was where we come from.
And keeping with sport, Sheffield United are all set for tonight's big return of a club legend. Manager Chris Wilder is back in charge, starting at home to Liverpool in a Premier League at 7:30 tonight. The question is, are the Blade fans happy with the decision to bring him back? If anyone can find out, then Paul Ogden is our man. He's at Bramall Lane for us tonight. You look a bit chilly there, Paul.
Yes, but no chillier than everybody else, Amy. It's that time of year, isn't it? I'll tell you what, the anticipation of Chris Wilder's return is warming everybody up. And you've just got to love a South Yorkshire football crowd for the diversity of opinion. Yes, Chris Wilder's the big topic of conversation. But I'll tell you what we've noticed tonight. We've noticed a big appreciation for Paul Heckingbottom, the man sacked to make way for Chris Wilder's return. Lots of praise for him. He got the Blades into the Premier League in the first place, of course. And Chris Wilder, forged in steel, cherished blade, but they'll be reminding him here very soon that he's got a job to do. Have a listen.
If I've got to be honest, it wasn't my first choice, for the simple reason how he left the club last time, but he's got a chance to make it right this time.
But can he do it? It's a difficult job, given where the Blades are in the table.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think he can do it.
You've always got to have hope that they're gonna do it. Obviously, Chris is coming back. I watched the Brian Dean interview the other night, which made you think Chris has got to, Chris has got the passion. He's a blade through and through. So if anybody's going to do it, he's the man to do it.
I hear what you're saying, passion, blade through and through. You're dead right. But is that enough to keep a team in this difficult Premier League?
It's all we've got at the moment.
I feel like with the hope helping him, he can definitely do a good job. So I feel like it'll high the chances, and he's already coached the team before, so he knows what he's doing and he knows his players.
Chris Wilder is a Sheffield through and through. Paul Heckingbottom, he wasn't getting the results.
Can the Blades stay in the Premier League, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he can keep us in the Premier League.
A tough start here against Liverpool tonight for Chris Wilder, back as manager. To put it into context, the Blades have won 1 of their 14 Premier League matches so far this season. Liverpool, second in the table, they've only lost once, and that was to Tottenham Hotspur. Before we leave here tonight, in case you missed it last night, let's just have a quick look at Beth Mead's goal, the North Yorkshire girl, back in England action. She scored last night in England's 6-0 win against Scotland, scoring on a debut again following injury, that injury that kept her out of World Cup duty. Still, all that wasn't enough to get England into the next stage of the Nations League, or indeed for Great Britain women to play in the Olympics in Paris. Tonight here, if you can't get to Sheffield United against Liverpool, BBC Radio Sheffield is the place to follow all the action, the best possible commentary. And Match of the Day, remember, tonight, special midweek one at 10:40 on BBC One tonight for us all to enjoy straight after your late Look North bulletin.
Oggy, thank you. Listening on the radio is a far warmer option, isn't it? Thanks, Oggy. Now, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And did you know that actually St. Nicholas Day, a day for remembering the generous acts of the saint who became Santa, is actually today? So one charity in York is encouraging people to be a secret Santa this year and make a real difference to people's lives. We sent Hannah Gray along to find out more and to see some real-life Santas in action.
The stocking were hung by the chimney with care,
in hope that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
There's still a few more sleeps until Christmas, but today is St. Nicholas Day, a day for celebrating acts of kindness. And here at St. Peter's Primary School in Bramley, they're running something fun and festive to help all the local children feel special.
Should we have a picture taken? Big smile. The cost of living crisis is really hitting some of our families very hard, and some of them sadly cannot afford to pay the fee for the child to see Santa. So we've offered a pay it forward scheme so those that can afford it are actually paying for another child other than their own to see Santa.
And this couple are sending some generous Yorkshire spirit overseas. Paul and Pauline have asked their local community of Flockton and Kirklees to donate 600 shoeboxes of gifts. They've stocked up their camper van and are driving it to Ukraine to give out the gifts to children in hospitals, orphanages and refugee camps.
But we've just basically begged. We've asked people, we've told them what we want, said that we're taking to the children, and we asked them to make a shoebox from 0 to 9 and from 9 onwards for boys and for girls, and they've come up really rosy. The presents that we've got, what the children are going to get, they're going to love them.
This will be the couple's 6th visit. They're determined to continue to help all those children who've had their lives turned upside down by war.
The kindness that people have shown, it's remarkable in such a horrid world that we've got at the moment. It's frightening, especially for children, and I think if you can just give them something to make them feel better, it's the best, kindest thing you can do.
Much closer to home, the Acts 435 charity has been helping Martin and his kids settle into their new Cleckheaton council flat. They've sourced him a cooker and fitted the place with new carpets, ready for Christmas.
It's made a massive difference to family life for me and the children. I was sleeping on a sofa for 3 years and my children were sleeping in bed with the grandmother. And yeah, it's unreal. It really is.
We know that the Bible teaches us that it's more blessed to give than to receive. And of course, at this time of year, we give one another gifts to people that we know, to friends, to family. But being a secret Santa honours that tradition of St. Nick, of giving to those in need in anonymity.
The charity are encouraging people to carry out a secret act of kindness this month, so everyone can feel some joy. And so the generous spirit of St Nicholas lives on, and it's making December all the more special for these Bramley children.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Hannah Gray, BBC Look North.
Oh, isn't that just lovely? It's made me feel all warm inside. Now, staying with the festive spirit, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. I am, of course, quoting the iconic Christmas movie Home Alone. Hope you've seen it. It's a film about a young boy who booby-traps his home to stop it being burgled, and it's inspired one retired engineer in Chesterfield to recreate some of the famous scenes in his own garden. Well, we forgot Kevin, but we have got Mark Ansell, and he has been for us.
Well, what an absolute treat for me. Christmas is not Christmas in our household until we've watched at least one of the Home Alone films. And we've come to the Home Alone house here in Holy Moorside near Chesterfield. Just take a look at some of the props here. We've got the paint tins, there's the BB gun, the spiders, but best of all is Kevin, Macaulay Culkin, sliding along the zip wire. And this is what he uses to trap Harry and Marv, and Harry and Marv also feature in this brilliant production. It's all the brainchild of Stuart here. He's a retired engineer. Stuart, where did you get this idea from then?
Well, actually, it was from the grandchildren, because we each year do a different sort of theme, or think of different themes, and this year the grandchildren said Home Alone. And that really did make me have to think, because I didn't quite know how to put that together, because we do with the sleigh a continuous display, and so we needed to do a continuous display of Kevin, and it turned out that this is what I came up with, which is the zip wire on this rocking system that allows him to go from one side to the other on a regular basis. So the kids outside who are out there now looking and watching literally have just loved the whole idea of it, and even the older people now really can take it on board because everybody watches Home Alone.
You've done an absolutely superb job. The zip wire is amazing. Harry leaning out of the house, trying to catch Kevin, and then you've got Marv the other side. It's just brilliant. Quick word with, we've got 3 generations here, quick word with your grandchildren. What do you make of your granddad and what he's done here?
Well, he's been doing it for quite a few years now, and it's really good 'cause he raises money, and a lot of people from our school come see it as well. So, yeah, he's done a good job.
all credit to Stuart here, raising money for 2 local charities. And all that remains is for me to quote the film and say to you, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Right back at you. Wow, isn't that absolutely brilliant? So much thought's gone into that. If you've never seen Home Alone, you will have had no idea what was going on in that last
Impressed
item.
with your Home Alone impression. Do it again.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Very, very good. Right, let me show you
Watched it far too many times, obviously.
The River Ouse in York. It's up and down, but my goodness me, it's been over the sides of the river for a long time now. Hopefully that will sort of fall back down, but we've got a lot of rain to come in the next few days. We're turning into a much more unsettled picture. That's a beautiful one. That was taken at sunrise on the Leeds-Liverpool Canal there in Saltaire. Keep the pictures coming in on X, Instagram, and on the BBC Weather Watcher website. So tomorrow, a very different feel to the weather. It's going to be cloudy. There's going to be some patchy outbreaks of rain turning much more persistent later in the afternoon and into the evening. The jet stream really taking control of the weather, driving one weather system in after another. The weekend looks very changeable. Rain on Saturday and on Sunday. The only consolation is temperatures will be in double figures on Friday and into the weekend, but there's quite a bit of rain to come over the next week or so. Right, in the short term then, this is tomorrow's rain. The weather front coming through Wales and Cornwall at the moment, so it's still got a way to come, but we will see a bit of patchy rain developing through the night. Might start its life as a bit of snow over the Pennines, but it won't cause any problems. Quickly turning back to rain. Lowest temperatures at the moment, actually. Watch out for frost and ice. We're down to -1 at the moment, generally around freezing point. That's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So tomorrow's high water times, Scarborough at just after midday, 2 minutes past 12. So it's a cold and windy day tomorrow. Patchy outbreaks of rain inching up from the southwest. A bit of a respite before the main weather front brings very wet conditions into most areas mid to late afternoon, and that will spread eastwards into tomorrow evening. So temperatures eventually 7 degrees, but it's going to feel cold, as I say, as that wind continues to freshen from the southeast. So it's going to be wet and windy Thursday evening into Thursday night. Low pressure dominating into Friday. So Friday itself is a day of sunshine and blustery showers. But look at the temperatures. Up to 10 degrees. Very changeable this weekend. At the moment, it looks like we'll have rain at first on Saturday, brighter later in the day. The other way around on Sunday, a fine start, rain later, and it stays very unsettled as we head through next week. And Amy, that's the forecast.
Now, yesterday you told us that today would be a good day to look ahead to Christmas, see if it was going to be a white one.
Yes.
And?
Very unlikely. There you go. But I've been wrong in the past, Amy.
You don't say. That's it from us. Keely's here with your late news. Bye-bye.